and welcome back to Off the Iron. Andre, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Great, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great. We've got the tournament coming up, and I know you and I are sharing texts back and forth. I'm excited. Can't come any sooner.
Oh, I'm just so excited. I find myself, even though nothing's really changing, I find myself checking that ACHA website every once in a while just because of the excitement's building.
Yeah, what are you learning? So we know the three teams we're playing. Do you know any background on them?
I don't, not at all. I mean, we already know. Okay, so game one, Northeastern, and we'll go over this in the podcast, but game one, Northeastern, we know that we have the reigning champs in Indiana, right? And then we have the perennial top team in Lindenwood. So maybe I'm sounding like a homer, but I think we have probably the hardest bracket in all the pool play, and that's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I was sharing with you off camera. Indiana is who I played against, and we had a bench clearing brawl. And it used to be on YouTube. The two schools took it down, but it happened in the after the game, the handshake line. And I was
Oh,
behind. I was in the back where the goalie is, and I thought somebody fell down. Now, let me preface: that game was just a gong show all game. It was just a hard game. One of our guys had his collarbone broken. It was we had some other little sketchy fights in there, but it was hard nosed fault game. So then we come to the handshaking line, and I thought somebody fell because I see Clumber and I'm in the back, and then it was like a domino effect. And next thing you know, everybody has squared up with somebody and just punching, and you're just throwing haymakers, and it was crazy. And
man.
then I saw street shoes. The coaches came out, they got into it. The assistant coaches, they're yelling, leave the ice. Police have been called, blood. And so we got in some trouble on that. But we used to be able to watch. So now when I see Indiana, I won't be able to help.
Sure,
But
sure.
those guys I'm looking forward to. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
looking Northeast. We're in talking about East Coast, West Coast kind of play, and I know I always used to think of dump and chase or handling it. Did you on the East Coast? Do you think that's more of a puck handling style or a dump and chase style?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, no. Northeast is not a dump and chase. It's puck possession. Puck
Now,
possession. Always.
what style were you favorite to play?
Always possession. Always. Because I feel like there's a confidence in your team when you know you want the puck on your own stick, right? So I'm way much more in favor of puck possession, holding on to it. Now, that being said, I will say that the occasional dump and chase works in your favor because it softens the blue line, right? So it's kind of like mixing up running and throwing in football, right? If you occasionally throw in, and you have to play dump and chase, you can't play dump, right? The idea
Yes.
behind a dump and chase is you can beat their defenseman and still maintain possession. So if you do the dump and chase the right way, every once in a while, it's good because it softens the blue line, meaning the defense have to anticipate the dump and chase and back off a little bit, gives you an opportunity to gain control of the blue line and maintain possession. So I'm not a big fan of dump and chase by itself, but I'm in favor of using it as a tactic.
I think saying soften the blue line. I don't know if the coach had confidence in my puck handling, so he just always told me to dump and chase. But coming in, I'm 6'3", going in. I played forward my whole time. Moved back to defense in men's hockey, but I was a center, and then my right shot, I played left wing, right shot, off wing shot, and the dump and chase I could play, and especially when I played against better teams, it gave us some room there to soften the blue line. Third period, we'd start carrying it more, but we were very physical and hard to play against, and I would see. I think more of my West Coast friends or teammates play more of a dump and chase. I saw
Agreed.
more of my East Coast friends definitely more puck handle. And then when I'd see them try to dangle on the blue line and get their pocket picked and it go the other way, then I would forecheck my own teammate. And I hated
Yeah.
that part. The other thing I hate is when goalies play the puck too much.
Right.
God,
Yeah.
I like
Oh, yeah.
our goalies play it well, but tell me, I don't just get so anxious when I see goalies wanting to play it too much or not passing it, make the easy pass to the D. I think we'll see that going into St. Louis.
You're 100% right because you played the sport. Been a part of a practice that involved, okay, here's how we run it with the goalie handling the puck? You never do that, right? So as a defenseman, as a forward, the puck comes into your zone. The goalie is going to cover it, play it behind the net, or play it to a corner. That's their job, right? And so you as defensemen and forwards know that and know how to react. You don't ever practice for goalies handling the puck. So it screws everything up. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like giving it to him because I would call him the worst passer on the team. And I look forward to them sometimes trying to play the puck. But when I was in college playing and juniors, we didn't have many goalies play it at all.
Yeah.
It started coming around with some of you could probably name some of the goalies, whether it was Smith or Hexall or any of those, they started playing more. I don't remember some of the other goalies, but it just became more and more, if you will.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my attitude when the goalie when we dump and chase, they want to play it. I'll let them play it all day long because they don't know what they're doing sometimes.
Exactly.
I like our goalies. I think they play within reason and stuff. But when you think about the dump and chase, I do look at who that D is. And we have some defensemen that I don't want to go into the corner with those guys. And one of them I'm thinking of is Zach Monaco.
Yes.
Now, we miss him. What a physical defenseman he was.
It's a cliche, but doesn't he so outplay his physical size, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
He's from Alaska.
He plays bigger than his size, for
Who
sure.
wants to play anybody from Alaska?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, it's like you probably played, I remember playing kids from Yellowknife.
Oh, sure.
Or any of those Medicine Hat. Those kids, you don't play those kids. Those are young men. Back in my day, that was tough. But yeah, Zach is one of my favorites to watch. It was one of my first to meet. We get this opportunity to interview him. So without any further ado, let's segue over to Zach Monaco. And here we are with one of my favorite players. Thank you for joining us, Zach Monaco, also known as Monty. Monty, thank you for joining us. This is a real treat to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Monty, we wanted to get you on because you are one of the leaders of the team. You also have some years of experience, with the team and can talk to that. But before we get into the team, maybe take a few minutes to tell us how you found Utah, like where you came from and how you found even the University of Utah in hockey.
Yeah. So I grew up in Alaska. Obviously playing hockey since I was 4 years old. So I'm in year 20 now at this point. And my family's from Salt Lake, Central Utah. They're all from here. My dad went to school here. My aunts and uncles went to school here. So I grew up being a Utah fan by birth. I didn't have much of a choice in the matter, and the only school I wasn't allowed to go to was BYU. And so then, I went and played junior hockey in Washington, Montana. Was looking a lot at Division III NCAA, but the more I got into it and started watching ACHA games, I started to realize that the top level of ACHA is just as good as the mid range of D3, and I'd rather be out west. And so that kind of once I learned that, it narrowed down my options pretty significantly. And then when it came down to it, it felt meant to be to be a Ute, since I had been a Ute my entire life and got the chance to wear the sweater finally.
That's a great story. So, I can't hear you, Rob.
I had my mic there muted. I'm going to have to edit that out. I'm always editing myself. I don't know But what I was trying to say, you're one of the first teammates I met, and very dynamic. I don't know if I've ever seen you have a bad day, Monty. I mean, you're always smiling, laughing. All the parents know you. Everybody talks about you. You really bring a lot of gel to that team. And I know you've been out hurt, and you still haven't missed anything about the team. You have built this team very strong, Monty.
Well, I appreciate that. I wish I could play a couple games consecutively, but it's how it goes.
So talk to us a little bit about what your first year playing as a youth was like. And I don't mean emotionally, right? That's not what I mean, but I mean the makeup of the team, maybe some of the challenges you had that, years ago, and what you had to overcome. We'll start with that.
Yeah, so actually my rookie season was on the Division I team. So I'll skip to my sophomore year, which was the second year of the Division II team. They were coming off of a 4-win season, and so I was a little nervous about the predicament I was in. It turned out to be the best part of my hockey career, and the part that I'll cherish the most. But we came down. Me and 6 other guys came down from the Division I team, and really got tasked with, alongside with the guys that are still on the team. There's, I think, 5 guys from that original team. We were really tasked with the concept of turning the team into a legitimate program, and a team that's going to compete every night, whether we're the better team or not. And I think we did a good job at that. We had a 7-1 loss to Utah State early in the season, and that was really the last time we let a team kind of run us around again, right? And so I think we went 19-11. We had a good run, got second place in the conference, and like I said, just really turned it into a type of team that was going to compete every night, whether we were going to win or lose. We always were going to show up, and I think that was a big factor in what the team is now today. Obviously, looking a lot better than we used to, and I think you had to start somewhere, and that somewhere I think was setting the tone that we were going to show up every night, and no matter who we were playing, we were going to give it what we got and come to battle every night.
Sure.
So, Andre, do you remember seeing much of Monty playing last year?
No, unfortunately I don't. But I'll tell you, my where with Monty was when my son Andre got injured right at the Montana State game. It was the first time. He's a true freshman. We're coming out. We decided to fly out to Montana to see him play. And on the third shift of the game, he takes a totally legit hit behind our goal. And I saw the way he went down because he had shoulder injuries before. And Monty was there taking care of him because Monty wasn't dressed for the game, right? Because he was injured. But as a parent, with a freshman trying to navigate what college hockey is going to be like, Monty was there, didn't put me at ease, knowing like, hey, we got him. We'll take care of him. I've been through this before. I'll take care of him. And I was able to just kind of, walk away and just I felt comfortable. That was my first introduction to Monty. Is he wasn't dressed, but was, to your point, Rob, such an integral part of the team, even not dressed, that he was jumping on the bench just taking care of my son, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, and you are, Monty, and we all see that. I told you, the parents see you, they get to meet you, how much you come and say hello to us. So I want to ask you this, Monty, see if you know your own game the way I see it. When you're chasing the puck into the boards down deep in your own end, and there's a guy, either you're chasing or he's chasing you for that puck race, at what point do you ever put on the brakes before you hit the boards?
Well, first of all, you guys are being way too kind to me. I will say that. I've got a lot of bad personality traits too, but I think that's part of the reason that I don't stay healthy very long at a time, is because I like the boards. I like going in and getting dirty with it, and there's not a lot of breaks. I'm not a big fan of breaks.
I remember watching Jeremy Roenick when he was with Chicago and Philadelphia. The guy never stopped. He went full blast in the boards, and people didn't want to go there with him. And Monty, knowing you're from Alaska, I guess you wrestled bears and elk and moose up there, I'm guessing. I always love talking to you about what is Alaska like, and so I appreciate you always answering. But I would not go into the corner with you. You go so hard and you're so strong, and that's one of the things I saw about your game, and you will play through being hurt, and I've watched you play hurt, but now an injury, you're taking care of yourself, and I'm glad. But Andre, this guy just goes full blast. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm glad he's on our team.
100% agree. The games I've seen, for sure.
Yeah. We miss having you out there. We miss having Hayden Tomachek out there. Y'all two came into the program together?
Yeah, we were the same year. I was on the Division I team that first year. But then after that, I came down. So yeah, we were rookies our same year.
Yeah.
I just, it's fun going into the corners, I suppose. I'm done for now. It's been one too many corner battles, I suppose. But, I think it became my favorite part of hockey is, I used to like getting as many assists as possible, but I slowly started to grow to really love eating pucks and battling hard. Cause, I don't know, there's something special about how the boys react when you're willing to sacrifice a little bit. I sacrificed quite a bit, but I'm happy I did it.
Well, it's that play hard, party hard. I mean, Andre and I would have to probably want to join the M2 team. I think the M2 team has a little more fun than the M1 team. You want to dish that out? Is that true?
That's a heavy subject. I don't want to burn any bridges, but I've had a good time down there. I've had a good time at Division II. I'm pleased with how the career turned out.
Excellent. So let's talk real quick about now, right? Where you're on this team that's got an automatic bid to nationals. We're ranked number 4 in the nation, right? We're back-to-back conference champs, right? I jokingly said a while ago, okay, well, next year, what conference are we going to join and run that one too, right?
I do the same. I said the same.
Yeah. So what's the mentality? Like, tell me what practices are like now. Like, you mentioned when you came and your group of you guys came over to the 2 team, right? And you were tasked with helping build a winning program, right? Now seems to me like you've obviously done a very good job, but what are practices like now as far as the mentality of the players, the new kids that come in? How are you establishing that kind of winning mentality now? Whereas maybe 4 years ago, it was like, hey, we're going to compete, but we'll just see how it works. Whereas now, I think you guys go into the games going, we're winning every single game, and we're going to practice like we're going to win every single game. So talk to that a little bit.
Yeah. No, I think really this season has, in a way, been autopilot because we've put that in place, right? When I first came to the Division II team, we really had to force that into the locker room, and not just myself, right? There was a lot of guys that were part of the process, but a big hurdle we had to get over was instilling that in the program. This year, we have those systems set in place. The guys that came in, the new guys, they were all bought in from minute one. They all wanted the exact same thing, and they didn't have to go through the struggle, which was awesome. But yeah, it's really set in place at this point. Practices right now are pretty flowy, pretty fun, if you will, because we usually don't get 5 weeks of practice in a row without any games going on, so we kind of have it's fairly light in a way because we know that we show up to play, and so it's light in the sense that the compete level is high, but we're excited to go to nationals. Things are looking good right now, but realistically this year has been in a way autopilot because we have those systems set in place, and now we didn't have to do much forcing or instilling that energy and that mentality into this team. It's already there. And I think that's something that I think the testament to the program that's been built is that, we used to have to instill it. We used to have to force it. We'd have meetings. Captain meetings were a weekly occurrence, a bi-weekly occurrence. And now it's very much, it's there. It's there every night. It's there at practice. The compete level, sometimes I think we go harder in practice than in the games. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's gotten us to where we are now. And I really think that it's just a part of the fabric now, not something we have to force too much, because everybody's here for the same thing and everyone's bought into that mentality.
So you said that the new guys, they don't have to go through that struggle that y'all had to go through, but there is a lot of great things you come out of struggle. I'm sure y'all still do, but you also have a good time. And when we talk about how good your team is so tight, y'all have fun. And you mentioned about keeping it light. So my question, who in the locker room is going to replace you when keeping the room light? Because you're the energy guy, you're the pump up guy. I know how you go. Who's going to replace you? Who's the clown in the locker room that's that you're bringing around?
Oh, I'm not worried at all about it. I played 5 games this year before, getting my head smashed. So we've already got those in place. I mean, Ben LeDuc, North Dakota's finest. That kid is an animal, and he's already got the boys going as a rookie. Obviously, Reed Pittman, my fellow assistant captain, he's one hell of a guy. He's a great leader, and we've really got a room full of leaders, and that's something that we also tried to instill a long time ago, of how can we have a room full of leaders, right? Leaders build leaders, real leaders build leaders. And I really don't think there's, I think I'll be missed because I'm, just goofy Zach Monaco, whatever, but I'm not worried at all about it, because we've already got those things in place, and I only played 5 games. So really we've got the system in check already.
Got it. So let's go, if we can, to the Nationals, right? We have our first game against Northeastern.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second game is Indiana, right? And then the third game is Lindenwood. Lindenwood being like the top team, right? They're the big dog, and I love that we have them, right? Because that's awesome. So tell me, what do you know about these teams, if anything? Do you know anything about who you're playing? Because that's the interesting thing with Nationals, right? Is that you're playing 3 games against 3 teams from divisions you're not seeing, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you go into that? Are you doing research on those teams? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so since I've been out, I've kind of taken on a little bit of a film job, if you will, for the defenseman, just trying to do my part. So I've done a little bit of digging. I don't know much about Northeastern, but Indiana is the defending national champs. They also were, I believe, 8th in their region going into regionals, and they scrapped their way out of it. So they're going to be a really interesting team to see. I'm really excited to play the defending national champs, and at the same time a team that really, obviously, they know how to fight and they know how to win, because they went from 8th to the national tournament. So I'm excited to see what exactly they're going to be like. Lindenwood, of course, is going to be a fantastic team to play. I mean, that's arguably one of the greatest college programs that there's been, but I've heard a lot about the Memorial Cup in major juniors, and how kind of the same thing, you have to be ready to you have to expect the unexpected, because you're playing different leagues that play a different style. And I think this is very similar to that of, we have played Western hockey for the last 4 years. We have not played outside of our region at all. I know Montana State they've played every year. They go to Minnesota and stuff like that. We have not gone farther east than Colorado. And so we've been playing Western style hockey our entire college careers, all of us. And so it's going to be really interesting to see different styles of play. I can't fully attest to what those styles are going to be like, but I can attest that it's going to be different, right? We're playing a different style of hockey, our style of hockey going up against the East Coast style of hockey, whatever that might be. I think the biggest thing for our success is to know that we aren't going to know enough, even by watching film. It's not the same as once you're on the ice and once you're actually head to head against them. They're going to have to play slightly different, because they're playing against the Western style of hockey, right? And I think the most successful teams in tournaments like this are the teams that are quickly adapting. They're able to shift gears and change direction quickly when they realize like, oh, that's something new. That's something we're not used to dealing with, whatever that may be. It's going to be different. And the team that can adapt to those situations the fastest and best are usually the teams that come out on top. But I'm excited. I don't like playing bad teams, and there's no bad team in nationals, especially in our pool, playing defending national champs and arguably the most storied ACHA program. I mean, there's no other way I'd like to go to St. Louis.
Hey, Andre.
Great answer. Yeah.
He brings up a great point about East Coast, West Coast. Now, when you and I were playing, did you notice a difference from an East or West? And do you see it now because you're in Ohio? Is where your sons played high school, is it a different style than what you see maybe that you see here on the Western region? What do you see?
So I'm 54, right? So the interesting thing is, having gone and played hockey in Chicago, you would when I was in college, you would think it was Midwest or Western, but the team was back then. The team was filled with a bunch of East Coast kids, So even though you played in Chicago, if you looked at the team and had to pick a style, I would say you'd think it was like an East Coast style because you're filled with 80%, 85% of the kids coming from prep schools or whatever it is on the East Coast. So now fast forward to now, it's a good question. And I'm guessing Monty can speak to this as well because, here, even though it's Ohio, it's prep school hockey. So, yeah, you have a lot of Midwestern kids, but you've got kids that are dorming and living in here from California, from East Coast, stuff like that. The cliche is East Coast is a little bit more finesse. Western hockey is a little bit more physical. I don't know if that's even the case right now because hockey has become such a mobile sport, meaning kids are going everywhere to play. So I'd answer it that way, and I would still defer to Monty and say, in his high school and junior career, would you agree with that, or do you think there still is some sort of different style?
No, I agree. I think that, the biggest thing is that our success this season has come against teams that we've played all year, right? And we know these teams. We knew who Montana State was going to be. We knew who Weber was going to be, and we've dealt with them head on, right? And so you are correct that especially in college, you've got guys coming from all over. We've got guys from Massachusetts and Mexico and Alaska, like right. So you're absolutely right. The biggest thing, in my opinion, like when I came to Utah, I had to change my game myself because we played a different style than my old team, right? And that's kind of this is the team-wide style of that. I had to learn what was going to be successful with this program. I was a little more before Utah. I was a little more of the pretty cross ice pass in the zone. It was a different style when I got here. That wasn't working very well. What did work was walking the blue line and getting the puck on net and having our dogs go after it and go bury the rebound. It's the same thing with teams, right? Is that we have never played Lindenwood. We have never played Indiana. We've never played Northeastern. There are going to be things that happen where we realize, oh, that's something new. Like they're not flying the zone the way Weber did. They don't, maybe they're much more puck possessive in the offensive zone, and there's going to be things that are slightly different. I agree that East Coast, West Coast, it's changed a little bit, especially at the college level. You don't know where these kids are coming from, but there is definitely still going to be a little bit of a, just small differences that we're not used to. They're not going to be used to our style either. And that's something that, like I said, whoever's going to be able to adapt to those changes the best, the quickest, right? That's where I think the difference maker is going to be. The same way that an individual coming to a team, might have 0 points in their first 10 games because they haven't adapted to the different style of play. And once they adapt, all of a sudden the points start coming, right? Same on the team level. We're going to see they're going to play our style. We're going to play their style. Somebody's going to figure out how to turn the dials the right way and be able to combat a different style of team, a team that we have never seen before. And and whoever does that the best is going to come out on top. And I vote we're going to do it best.
So, when you think of those styles, Andre, you and I have talked about the dump and chase, or you carrying it across. And then when we talked to your coach, we were mentioning that between periods, how good the coaching staff seems to adapt to what you just said. Are they puck possession? Where's their speed? How are they doing things? Are we right in saying, without giving up any secrets, but is that what you see with your coaching staff, and compared to other coaches, how well they see the game?
Yeah, I think we have an unbelievable coaching staff. Obviously, Cornelius is a fantastic head coach, and we had conversations when I was, I guess, after near the end of my first year on Division II. We had some conversations about that, of how I thought, in the utmost respectful way, I thought we were not able to turn the dial mid-game enough in certain situations, like in our conference championship loss. They had our number, and we needed to turn the dials and make something different happen, and we didn't do that. And we had a conversation about that, and pretty much since then, I think we are one of the best teams, probably the best team in the West, at least, in terms of knowing how to just change things a little bit in between periods, mid-game, right? Things sometimes just aren't going your way, and other teams might have some sort of structure set up that is designed to stop yours, right? And I think that our coaching staff is very good at doing that. And then at the same time, systems aren't everything, and that's, at some point, it comes down to the individual level, and our coaches have done a really good job, especially this year, at being able to work with players and get players back on track. Not to mention, just credit to our players, we're good at that. Like, we've got great guys that they're self-aware. I think we have very self-aware players, which allows them to be able to recognize when something's not working, or maybe they're just having an off day. Maybe they have a cold, right? Like, the things happen, and our players are good at adapting to that and figuring out what's working, what's not, and adjusting and coming back ready for the next period. Every period's a new game, and I think we do a really, really good job at that. I think our coaching staff is top tier in that regard, which is why we're going to be the best at turning the dials in nationals. And
Well said. Love the mentality. For sure. Well, I love it. I think I'm hoping, and I'm sure they are. I think all the boys have the same mentality you do, is from what it sounds like. I know, on paper, some people think that such a long rest in between games could be a bad thing. But I think for you guys have your things, whether it be skiing, snowboarding, whatever it may be. Like, you guys are loose, and there's no more difficult team to play, I think, going into any sort of a tournament, than a team that's good and confident and loose. They're not all wound up, right? And so I know Coach has got some things scheduled for you guys, as far as maybe some scrimmages, like the little 3-on-3s and stuff like that. So I think you guys are in a great position. Great position.
When I think of that great position, Andre, seeing how the third and fourth line does. Here you're going to be playing teams that have depth like we do. Whether you're playing our first line or you're playing our fourth line, we're difficult to play against. And any of those four lines can score for us. You're about to run into that team. And y'all did against Weber State. Y'all did against other, Montana State as well. It's a game from start to finish that anything can happen. And they're very deep teams. And to your point, Monty, you're going to run into those teams, and how you adjust is going to be something for us, because there's going to be a lot of parents there for those games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, absolutely. And I also think, being that this is pretty much our first time out of the Western region since this Division II program came to life, making sure it's not sometimes in these kind of tournaments, you can take it like a vacation and be happy to be there. And I think we are not going to be like that. I don't think that that's a concern for us, but that's a big factor, in my opinion, in these type of tournaments, is you can't just be happy to be there. And I agree that, we're a tough team to play against. Against Montana in the quarterfinals, we got 3 goals all from the blue line, all defensemen. That's a weird thing, right? But that's sometimes games just work out that way, and that's how you got to score. And I think that we have firepower and on all fronts on every line. And a lot of times in these type of tournaments, the third and fourth line are the difference maker, right? Like when you get into that top level of hockey, I mean, these are the 16 best teams in the nation. There's gonna be some big, swings in games based on third and fourth line guys, third pair defensemen. Any asset on the ice can be the difference maker, especially in a tournament like this.
Great point. You got anything else, Rob? I think we've taken a lot of Monty's time.
I think, we're going to have to wrap it up, but looking back, what are is there a story out there that me and Andre don't know? I don't know this, but when you think back and you've got to the M2 team, what is some more memorable things that you're going to take away that are maybe the story you'll never forget? And I don't know if his son or my son's involved in it, but we can take a good story.
Absolutely. I think talking about how part of the fabric this winning culture is now, I think the best thing can come from my first year on Division II, which was some of the things that that the Division I guys that came down, guys that are coming in from juniors and whatnot. We always kind of, it was part of hockey. It was, maybe part of the culture that we came down, and it wasn't there. And it was a little bit of like oh man, we gotta figure this out. And I think the biggest one was, and I won't name names, but we were getting ready to play sewer, right? So just kicking the ball up in a circle, getting ready to play sewer, and somebody said they wanted to play tips, which the last time I played tips, I think I was 9 years old. It's what you do when you don't know how to play sewer and when you're not good enough. And a couple guys really wanted to play tips, and I was ready to have a meltdown about it. I was like, I'm like, we're going to lose every game if we play tips, guys. And so I don't know if that's a great story, but it's just funny. I think a lot about that first year and just some of the nuances we had to grind into the program to make it what it is today. Obviously that's an off ice thing, but I think 50% of winning comes off the ice, right? It comes from the locker room, and just some funny things coming to the Division II team off of a 4-win season, and just some of those little weird things that you may not think it's part of winning, but maybe it's just superstitious. But I think it plays a bigger role than anybody can measure. No numbers can measure what the impact of a good sewer game before the game can do to a team.
Well, I think that's a great story, actually. You know why? Because it, like you just said, it may not be part of the win on the ice, but it's part of a winning culture, right? No. You're not looking backwards to youth hockey kind of thing. Like that's what I take from that story is that decision didn't make 2 extra goals happen on the ice, but it's part of the culture, the winning culture. Yeah. Maybe not the win, but the winning culture that leads to the win. So that's a great story.
Absolutely. And if I can take a minute and a half more, another good side of that is I used to talk about juniors way too much. And so the boys started getting on me for that last year. Early last year, I started getting in trouble. Every time I talked about juniors, they would come screaming at me. And you know what, though? I notice now that this year I've very rarely talked about any hockey team before this one, right? And I think that, that's not something I really tried super hard. Besides, I was sick of getting yelled at for talking about juniors. But I think that just kind of, it came out of me when we built what we needed to build, right? And I'm excited for what we've put together. And now I don't talk so much about the past because I'm pretty stoked about the future.
Great little story right there.
Yeah, you're leaving the program better than you got it. And we talked about that with Coach Fernelius, Andre, and I, is every year y'all make that program better. And what you have built, you ought to be very proud. All your teammates that we talked about, you got your seniors, Garrett Jackson, Luke Asala, Braxton Porter. We've got Zeke. We interviewed him. He was great to talk to. You got a great captain there.
Oh, yeah.
Hayden Tomachek, one of Reed's roommates, and love that guy. Hate that he got that shoulder injury, and then of course you as well, and then Jack Umana. So we're going to lose one Umana. We got another one, Aiden, coming in. We're going to have 2 Lacroix next year.
There we
We're
go.
building a great program, but the one thing we haven't gotten into is really goalies. So if I can ask you, since you're on your way out, of our 3 goalies, you maybe don't have to say names, but they have any good story? What you said, the word superstition. That's what made me think about it, Zach. What superstition does one of those goalies? You don't have to give us names. You can just give us initials of that has some kind of crazy superstition.
Goalies are so weird.
That's why we like talking about them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can pinpoint a specific superstition for the 3 of them, but they're just the largest personalities, I mean, and I feel like that's just every good goalie is a little strange, and we've got 3 strange goalies, that's for sure. Sorry to the goalies, but it's just how it is. But they're all 3 of them. They're so unique in their own little way, and they're all studs of goalies, right? I mean, we've got an incredible set of 3 that we could throw any of them out in any game, and we feel confident. And I think that's a huge part of a winning team too, right? Is when especially defensemen, when the defensemen trust that their goalie can protect them, they're willing to take some more risks and make some bigger plays. And that's a huge part of a winning culture, and that's a huge part of what our defensemen have been able to do this year, knowing that any night, any goalie in the net, we know that they've got our backs. But yeah, sorry, a little off track, but I'm not sure if I know a specific superstition. They're just, they're goalies. They're a little weird, and that's perfect. That's how we like them.
Yeah. Now, 2 of them, I think, are a little more on the quiet side, and there's one probably a little more outspoken. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think you got that right.
Yeah. I think Winks probably gets it from his dad.
I was just going to say that. He takes after his dad, maybe?
Yeah, except he got in a fight, and his dad plays soccer, so I don't know. He must have gotten that from his mom.
Yeah, it's coming somewhere else. That's the fiery side.
Good point. Good point.
No, he's he's an awesome kid too, right? I mean, he's a rookie, and I got to have some good conversations with him early in the year. And it's hard. I mean, a team with 3 goalies that are all studs, that's a tough environment to walk into, and I think all 3 of them have handled it the best possible, really. And he's gonna be a top goaltender in the nation in no time at all, for sure.
Well, I hope that you're going to be around next year for this next team coming along. It's been great talking to you, and Andre, you've got the mic.
No, I just want to say thanks. I think what you established here, something that you said early on, right, is that you guys had to kind of, and I'm not using the same word, but you guys had to suffer in the very beginning, right? And to the point where these guys don't have to anymore, the guys that come in. But at the same time, you've established a culture in there that is one that the guys that maybe come in last year, this year, next year, that don't have to go through those difficult starts of the program years, they walk into a culture of winning that has already been established. And so kudos to you and the boys that did that. So, and as a parent watching, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I wasn't there for the first year, so, big props to those guys. I don't know. I probably would have lost my marbles on that team, but, so those guys are the real heroes, but I appreciate it. And
sure.
Thanks for having me on. I love what you guys are doing. This is my new favorite podcast.
Thanks.
We enjoy it. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you,
guys.
We'll
see you in St. Louis.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you there.
All right. Take care, guys.